Cafe Machina. We're, what episode are we on?
3.
This is 3.
Dale's number.
Dale, do it for Dale.
Doing it for Dale.
We're doing it for Dale. This is a Dale
Put your
Earnhardt.
threes up.
Dale Earnhardt tribute episode.
Yeah, buddy.
So we got Erik Valdez on the show today.
What up, guys? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome. I guess we might as well get this off the bat. I mean, who are you? I mean,
You
I know
invited me, bro.
you,
I
but
mean-
tell our listeners, who are you?
For everybody watching and listening, I make my, but I'm a car guy first and foremost. I've raced for 20 years off and on. Run everything from karts, shifter karts, used to instruct at Bonnaront School, sports cars, Daytona and Porsches, the Baja 500, the Baja 1000, some lower level NASCAR stuff, a variety of things. Anything I can get my hands on, basically.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
But yeah, I
Bunch of stuff.
it's yeah. But I make my living as an actor. Nobody's ever paid me to drive a race car, which these guys get paid to drive race cars. Not
I
me.
don't.
I don't
Not
think we
anymore.
do.
Oh, okay.
Not anymore. I'm on the sidelines now.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a tough gig to be paid to drive race cars.
Dude, I chose the two stupidest things in the world to pursue: motorsports and entertainment, and at least one of them worked out. But no, it's cool. I mean, I'll never be Lewis Hamilton, which is kind of sad. But at least I can still jump in and out of race cars here and there.
Yeah, you've done some cool stuff recently.
I have.
And that's how we originally met, was at a car event through a mutual friend, and
Yeah.
kind of connected, and onwards and upwards from there, and became friends.
Shout out to PJ.
PJ Rashidi, actually
Yep.
my business partner with Minus 273. And also, to get this off the bat, because we're really terrible at it,
What?
the partners of the show,
Oh,
Minus
no, we're great at
273.
it. What are you talking about?
On it. Are you on Alpha Brain?
I'm always on Alpha Brain.
So you're
I don't think
you're
you-
tuned in.
I'm tuned in.
Okay.
They also make Shroom Tech, sport. Shroom Tech.
Shroom Tech.
What?
Yeah, cordyceps, mushrooms.
Okay.
Is that
There's no
Are we talking?
psychedelic trips involved.
Are we talking microdosing?
No. It's for sport. So it's like, it's cordyceps.
it's
mushrooms.
legal?
Yeah, completely. It's not like, it's literally like
What's the benefit?
lion's mane.
What's
mushroom.
the benefit?
I think it helps. I should know this.
Cognitive?
No, it helps your, again, like the breathing thing.
Yeah.
It helps your cells kind of retain oxygen better. That's
Okay.
what that mushroom does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And then
Dig it.
also Molecule Sports.
Yeah, we got Molecule.
Oh, the smell good, clean your gear guys. you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. I know
exactly.
all about that stuff.
Yeah. So they're a partner of ours also. So
Nice.
there you go. Check
Yeah.
them out on the line.
I have a discount code.
Oh, cool.
I have a discount code
Give
for
it.
Molecule.
Let's
So you type in TJ15 when you're checking out, you get 15% off. Everything. At Molecule.
Everything.
That's it.
I might
Wait,
get
do
some.
you have a discount code for?
For this wine company?
Yeah, are these guys sponsoring you?
No, Whole Foods.
Whole Foods
Whole
is.
Foods did not, or Amazon did not sponsor
Let's
us.
turn that label around, man. You don't get free plugs.
Well, we're hoping one day we will get,
A Whole Food sponsorship?
or some. I mean, maybe a winery, something. Who
There
knows?
actually
This
is.
is Antonio Lamona. So if you're watching, Antonio, we like your wine.
It's Italian wine. You know who we could get is Kevin Buckler, Adobe Road Winery. Kevin Buckler, if you're watching, we
Let's
can
send
have your
this
wine
to
up
him.
here.
Let's send this.
A little pitch deck.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little pitch deck, and it's just going to be a clip.
That's all.
Of us.
I love Adobe Road wine. It's fantastic, actually. So
Wide spectrum of flavors. It's amazing. It's great.
hits your palate. Just the tannins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can taste Sonoma in their wine.
Fire.
The ashes.
that's terrible.
That's bad.
That's
Wow.
way
That's
terrible.
bad.
I live there too, so.
Wow, that's a little soon. For
Yeah,
me.
that was a little soon.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, so-
Bad taste. So let's talk a little bit about, we'll kick off how we have the last few episodes. Formula One. We
Yeah.
watched it together, as we tried to when we're both in town during
Yes,
F1
indeed.
season, with a little Gasolina start and then the F1 season.
Shout out to Gasolina. There's an endorsement you guys need. We need
Yeah.
we need some. You haven't been this place, have
I
you?
heard about it. Chris
Oh,
told
it's
me.
amazing.
It's amazing.
It's the best little like Valley secret food and coffee shop. It's Gasolina. If you find yourself in Woodland Hills, go check out Gasolina Cafe. They don't pay me to say this, but I actually pay them way too much. I eat there every morning.
Did you eat there this morning?
I did.
And tomorrow morning.
And tomorrow morning.
Yep.
We got a meeting there tomorrow
Yeah, I know.
morning. So, yeah. Shout out to those guys.
There you go.
Anyway, F1, yes.
What did you think about the race?
Um,
Specifically Hamilton.
I mean, look, it kind of goes over people's heads, I think, sometimes, how good Hamilton is. I mean, this day and age, like I had a conversation with a buddy of mine this morning, Kobe, if you're watching. Kobe is like, oh, F1 is it's just what happened. Everybody stayed in the same position. In the last 2 laps, it was exciting. And no, actually, it's Hamilton to start. Let's just back up for those of you that didn't watch the race. Spoiler alert, but to start from pit lane and come all the way through the field, damn near podium, and finish 4th at Interlagos in perfect conditions. It's not like it was wet and he outdrove people in the wet. No, this was like everybody should have been on their game.
Yeah.
To move up that many positions is mind-blowing. I mean, Toto Wolff in an article this morning said that was the best 4th place finish he's ever seen anybody in his entire life, which I don't think is an overstatement. I thought it was a hell of a drive.
Yeah, from pit lane too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, what do you think happened on that when he binned it in quali? What was going on there?
I mean, my opinion, I think, look, if I were Lewis Hamilton and I had just won my 4th world championship and Mercedes, who I work for, had secured their world championship and we had nothing to lose, I'm going after lap records and track records and everything else I can. So I'm going to drive in as hard as I can. And I think that's what happened is if you watch the video replay, his corner entry speed was insane.
Yeah.
And to watch an F1 car with, especially the newer ones with that much tire and that much downforce, just
lose
rear grip. I mean, he was pushing the hell out of that car.
Plus, you're kind of trail braking there a little bit. He was on the brakes a bit. So you're waiting up the nose, and stuff like that can happen.
He probably
with
popped
that
off
entry speed.
Yeah, he probably popped off the brake quite quickly there.
A little abrupt,
and it just sent it around. But Massa had a similar situation.
He saved it.
And that was a ridiculous
I didn't
save.
see that.
Oh, it was incredible.
It was in practice, right? Not even, it wasn't in quality.
I think
it was in practice.
I think it was
Friday.
in practice.
Really?
Yeah.
But it was incredible. I mean, the hand speed.
Yo,
It was-
wasn't he like in the first qualifying session? He was like P4.
Yeah.
He might have been.
That was
I missed
insane.
quali.
Because Stroll was back in like 18th.
But how about Alonso?
Yeah, Alonso, he sealed the deal.
Yeah.
He's killing it right now.
Yeah.
I am hoping that the Renault power plant next year, they seem like they figured something out at the end of the season, especially this Evolution engine that Max has been running, and I think Ricardo had this weekend too.
Yeah.
They've found something. Okay, it's
Not in
still
Mexico.
not enough.
No.
Right.
Were they running, both of them running
No,
in Mexico?
I don't know.
Just for stopping in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they found something. Okay, it's not enough. There was still a small gap
Right.
to the front two, right, to Ferrari and Mercedes. But if they keep this evolution going, and Alonso, I mean, he's been in plenty of different cars. He knows what a good car feels like. If he's that confident and that car is as good as they say it is, I mean, who knows what McLaren can do next year? I know there's a big difference in development season to season, even when the rules are kept pretty similar, right?
Right,
There's going to be a
right.
big shift in development.
Is it next year that they're allowing 3,000 more RPM?
Yep,
and,
I think so.
Got the refined exhaust system and something. They're getting rid of one of not the MGU or the MG, I forget which one.
Oh, yeah.
Simplifying
knows?
it a little bit.
Right.
In the
So
hybrid
it's like
system.
almost a KERS
Yeah,
system.
I got to go back and look at that. But yeah, there are going to be some changes. But to your point, here's the interesting thing to me is, yes, Renault seems to be on par with everybody else towards the end of the season. But you look at something like, okay, for example, Hamilton, to be able, not taking anything away from his skill set, but to be able to come up through the field like that Mercedes engine was turned up a little bit, in my opinion. And it was reliable. It lasted a race. I mean, and then you look at somebody like on the other end of the spectrum, Vettel, all he had to do was manage the race. So what is Ferrari's true potential because towards the end of the race, when Hamilton really started making up ground and Bottas was right there, etc., suddenly they couldn't catch him. When Hamilton was P4 coming up on Raikkonen, tires, etc., but coming off of corners, the Ferrari still just walked them, it looked like.
Yeah.
So you take that into consideration, and I mean, are they really showing their hand fully, or do they still have something for it right now?
Well, that was the thing. It was at the end, Kimi. It's almost like they turned Kimi's engine up for the last few laps, and we're like, okay, yeah, we kind of knew third was just going to be where we're at, and then Hamilton's coming through, and they're like, he's getting too close.
Yeah.
Because Hamilton ran up on him quick. And then it was like, I know he had a little bit of lockup a couple times, and he probably was nursing the front tires, and he had that blister that was starting to form on the inside. I think it was the front left.
Yeah, left front.
So he had to manage that a bit, but he wasn't managing that much. I mean, he was going for third place on the podium. I mean, it wasn't like he at 3 laps to go was like, well, it looks like I'm going to sit behind Raikkonen. That's not happening.
No, definitely not.
So, man,
I think Ricciardo's drive up through the field was pretty badass.
That's that's a good point.
Yeah.
He didn't get much press on that or anything, but you're right. Hamilton kind of stole the show with the drive through the field, but I think Ricciardo tweeted something today like, I'm going to try Lewis's strategy next time and start from pit lane to avoid all that turn one, right? Turn
was
two
Lewis
ruckus.
ahead of Ricciardo after Ricciardo spun on the start?
Yes.
So I believe so. Like, technically, I mean, Ricciardo was way further back than everybody else. Yeah. And he's on a Renault engine, and like his passes were legit. Like in turn one.
Yeah, they were.
They're legit.
So late.
Yeah.
He breaks so deep.
I honestly think he normally you do a big spike at the beginning of the brake zone. I feel like when he's in those moments where he's like, they're going to block and then they move up and he just cuts down.
Yeah.
Like he just goes to the brake, but like not hard.
Right.
Like he just brakes.
Just a linear.
And then at the end, it always locks up. He always locks up, but he's already got the position. It's such a badass move.
It is.
Yeah.
But he's like trademark Ricardo stuff. I love it. Like those are badass.
So maybe we should dedicate episode 3 to Ricardo, since said Adele. He's also number 3, and it was his
true.
hero
Right.
anyway. So episode 3 to you, Daniel Ricardo.
There you go. I liked it. And plus he didn't have when you see Lewis coming up through the field, he can pass guys on the outside, and he literally just drove around Max. Lewis did, just around the outside, plenty of power. And he's in a Mercedes engine. It's just kind of there's a little bit of a difference still. But with Ricciardo, all of those passes are legit. I love it. I mean, it's cool. It's cool to see.
What do you guys think of Verstappen's radio messages at the end of the race when he had 30-something seconds to Ricciardo behind him, and he's like, dude, this car is undrivable. I'm coming in for new tires. And they were like, no, just the gap's fine, just drive slower and you'll be fine. He's like, no, I don't think you understand. This is super unpleasant. When we were watching the race, I was like, nope. He feels like he has a car that's fast enough to go for fastest race lap. And I think with him not being on the podium, he was like, I need something for this race. I'm going to go low at the end of the race, low fuel,
new track record,
super softs, and I'm going to go for the track record. Yeah. And he did it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, he's going to hit track record.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand what Red Bull's no call was. Why would they say no, stay out there, blah blah blah? When you've got 33 seconds worth of cushion there, even if you flub a pit stop, I think time stop or a pit stop time delta was 22, 24 seconds, something like that. So even if you have a terrible pit stop, you should be able to get out comfortably. So why tell him stay out there when you have such a cushion? I don't understand that strategy at all.
Yeah. That was weird.
Yeah.
But good F1 race. Not the best, but entertaining at least.
Entertaining.
Better than, I think it was more entertaining than Mexico, personally.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Interlagos is just a more, I think visually a cooler track to watch the cars on because of the camber changes and the elevation changes and all that other stuff. And then I think for me, the highlight of the race was Felipe Massa's son. At the end, he came on the radio to Massa. And, I will support you wherever you go, Dad. I was like, man, I lost it in the living room. I'm watching it and tears running down my face.
I know.
It was
crazy.
just such a sweet moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, as Kimi says, we'll wait to see if that's actually his final.
I think it is.
I think so, too. I
don't think you can come back.
No.
As we talked about, there's not a team left for him to go back to. Right? Williams was that last big team, even though their performance hasn't been the best lately, there's that last big name team that still had a seat opening, that it was like, it made sense for him to go back. But he's not going to go to a Force India. He's not going to go to a Sauber. It doesn't matter how much money they pay him. He's just not. How do you go from a lifetime career at Ferrari and Williams, essentially, to a D-list team? You're not. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So he's going to go off. I bet he doesn't even race next year. I bet there's no racing involved next year. I can see him take a year off, spend some time with the kids, then maybe go into some stuff and maybe do what Rubens is doing. 'Cause
IndyCar.
Rubens, you think he's going IndyCar?
Go IndyCar.
You think
That's
so?
what Rubens
he's
did.
going IndyCar.
Yeah, I think he's going IndyCar.
Rubens or Massa? Or
Massa.
both?
See,
Rubens was when he was out. He went to IndyCar with KV.
Yeah, but I think
really?
Yeah, he
I
was in
think-
KV for like 2 years or something.
Oh, you know what? I think I remember that. Yeah.
I think Massa is going to spend some time with his kids. He's going to get
Mm-hmm.
them into karting. May do some Brazilian stock car stuff, kind of like what Rubens does, right?
Yeah.
Spend some time with the family. Spend some more time in Brazil.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I mean, I think he's also, how old is Moss now? He's 30.
Has to be mid-30s.
38?
Oh, he's that old?
I think he's late 30s, personally.
Sports cars.
Yo,
Yeah, it's got to be sports cars, in my opinion.
Do you guys remember that '08 championship race? I just saw it on
Yeah.
Facebook, like the highlight came
Uh-huh.
up. That race gives me chills.
Oh, wait. With the one where Hamilton won?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Massa
With
last
Massa,
turn.
They
yes.
thought they were leading. They thought
Yeah.
they were celebrating. We're winning
Yep.
the title. And then the last turn, it's like, no.
Yeah, that was. I
It's-
mean, that was the coolest. I think that was the coolest moment in F1 that I've seen.
It was pretty. I mean, I haven't watched it in years. I haven't watched it since '08 probably. But
Really?
yeah, I remember it vaguely now that you brought it up. It was both amazing and heartbreaking at the same time.
Oh man, it was. And the thing is too, Vettel is the one that created that whole situation because he was like Lewis had to finish in fifth, and
Yeah.
he was in fifth, and then Vettel was pushing in sixth, and he was like pushing him.
Yeah.
And like as soon as it started to rain, Vettel was quicker, and then passed him, and then he was in sixth, and like it was like, oh my god, game over. Like
Right.
Felipe is gonna win. That's it. They're
Yeah.
going to tie for the championship, and Massa won more races. And then the last corner,
Yeah.
Glock on he was on dry tires, I think, right?
Right.
They pitted for intermediates, and he just drives around him. And it was like, yeah, Felipe Massa already won. They thought, like, in the pits that he
game over.
won. And they forgot about
then-
Timo.
Oh man.
Timo lives in
Heartbreaking.
intimacy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how Lewis won his first championship.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was such a cool race, though.
It's hard to believe that was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I still seem like I see Hamilton as not a rookie, obviously, but as a new guy. For some reason, that's still been in my head. I
Yeah.
don't know why. And then you look back and you're like, man, he's been in the sport 10 years? Because
Was
he
that
won
a-
it his second year in, right?
Wow.
He didn't win his rookie year, so he's
That's
been in
crazy,
the sport 10
though.
years.
That's crazy that he did that in his
Yeah.
sophomore season.
yeah.
That actually is.
It's impressive.
That's impressive.
I mean, he was always early on. He kind of had the same. He did the same thing for me that Verstappen is doing right now in terms of
Yeah.
impressing me and seeing some sort of like, okay, there's some sort of intangible there that this guy's got
Right.
that a lot of the other people in this field don't have.
I would agree with that. And he's
Yeah.
kept it and only gotten better.
So,
Yeah.
what do you think are those? Let's take a little side street here.
Sure.
What do you think are those intangibles from drivers? What are some of those intangibles, and can they ever be worked on
In general,
in general as a racing driver?
I mean, we've talked about this a little bit in the past. I think there's a gap. What I've always said, there's a gap between great drivers, right? There's professionals out there, there's great drivers, and then there are the uber elite drivers, right? There's the guys that made it to Formula One that are amazing drivers, and then there's those uber elite guys like Verstappen, Vettel, Raikkonen, Hamilton,
Casey Kane.
Casey Kane. I think it's a few things. I think one is just the innate ability to have that sixth sense feel,
Right.
right? The best drivers always go, "Oh, I just know it's time to brake because of depth
Right.
perception, not
Yeah.
because I know, I can brake at the 3 board and I just work on trying to brake a little bit later than the 3 board." The best
the seat
drivers,
of the
they
pants,
always
yeah.
say it's the seat of the pants. It's that feeling. I think it's the same thing with any other sport. What makes Tom Brady so much better? Because he can see the field better than anyone else in the game.
Right.
Right. And his football knowledge is better than anyone else in the game. He's not necessarily the best passer in the game.
No, he doesn't have the strongest arm.
He doesn't have the strongest arm. He doesn't even have the most accuracy in the
He's
game.
not the tallest. He's definitely not the quickest. That's
Right.
damn sure.
Yeah.
But he is by far the best quarterback
Right.
in the NFL and has been for a few years now, and has had the longevity. And I think that's what those guys have over everyone else.
Yeah.
And you're seeing a little bit in it, I think, with Ocon is a driver that's kind of slipping under the radar that does have something special that no one's talking about yet because
Well, he's not in a seat.
he's just not in that seat yet. But what he's doing is this early on and putting it to Perez, who's everyone have said Perez was an underrated guy in the beginning.
Yeah.
And they're like, after he got rid of all those wrecks and his craziness, his talent, people are like, no, you don't understand how talented Perez is.
Yeah.
And for him to do what he's doing to Perez right now is impressive.
Yeah.
What do you think the intangibles are?
The feel thing. The feel thing is something that comes up in every sport, where it's like a indescribable. Yeah, you can't even really talk about it. You couldn't tell someone, hey, go do this and you'll be faster.
I think it's a combination of things. I think absolutely what you guys have mentioned thus far, the seat of the pants feel, and subsequently kind of the ability to visualize and slow things down in your mind to where you're able to hit points a little bit cleaner and see things and see maneuvers and stuff and react quicker than others might because for some reason it's playing a little bit slower in your head. I think that's a big part of it. The other part of it is kind of just that freak of nature thing, right? The fast twitch muscle things that people like Usain Bolt have, and like just that little bit of genetics or whatever it is helps. But the biggest thing for me is when that person realizes that they have those things, the confidence. Once you've got all three of those things combined, you're damn near unstoppable. And I think the confidence, everybody gets confident to a certain point once they start seeing some success or whatever, but to be truly confident in your own abilities is kind of where Hamilton is at, in my opinion. And that's what's making him so, that next level, because, he's getting criticized for his lifestyle all year, right?
Yeah.
Like the last couple of years. Oh, well, he's off jetting to this and going to Fashion Week and blah, 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 and, partying in Barbados and everything. I mean, people can say whatever they want, but I think F1 needs more of that, provided you can still deliver like Hamilton can.
Right.
If he were, going and partying and then showing up to a race and qualifying, a second behind Bottas or something, then you can have that conversation. But to be able to lead his life the way he does and still deliver, I think is all a combination of having all those things and realizing that he's that good and being that confident in it.
Now, part of that confidence, though, comes from the fact that, let's just be honest, like with Lewis Hamilton, he's had the privileged seat everywhere he's gone.
Absolutely.
And so most drivers won't. How do you keep that confidence? I think we've talked about a little bit about confidence before, but it comes up because it is a term in racing that I don't think people really, you can't teach confidence. You can't teach someone how to be confident. You can kind of show them what a driver looks like when they're confident, but it's not like you can just, mimic that. Everyone has to find their own confidence, right?
Right.
So it's a hard thing to teach, hard thing to emulate. And it also requires B factors because often people get down about the B factors, the things that are out of their control. But, if you're in a car that is down on power or something or ill handling and you can't get it right, you only have a 6th or 7th place car. How do you keep your confidence up when you are that 6th or 7th place guy?
Right.
Yeah, well, then that's Fernando Alonso for you right there. I think, kind of going back to what you just said too, that was the only time I think when Hamilton came to McLaren and was teammates with Alonso, that was probably the only time that he didn't have the privileged seat, right? He still kind of did because he was molded, from an early age by McLaren. But I think at that point, that was probably one of the best pairings for a rookie ever because Alonso's arguably one of the most talented drivers of all time, in my opinion. And to kind of see someone like him operate at that level and be your teammate and your mentor your first year into F1, I mean, that's a huge jump right off the bat. And I think that really helped from there too. Because you look at Alonso, to your point now, he knows the car's subpar. He knows everything. He's been very good at being diplomatic and not completely bashing the team the whole year, which is great. But he'll get in the car and he'll blow an engine or 8 and, do what he can do with the car and get out and get on with life and go back to the next race. Forget about all that and push as hard as you can again. And then, ultimately you start seeing results in qualifying or in this case in the race. And that, again, it's sad to see them dealing with the issues because I think Alonso could have won another 2 championships if he were in the right situation in the right car at this point in time.
Yeah, it is. It's tough to see. But even a guy like Fernando Alonso, he already has like a world championship under his belt.
He's got
in
two,
Formula
right?
One.
Two or
two?
Is it
three.
two?
It's definitely at least
think
two.
it's two.
It's two. Okay,
It's at
maybe
least
two.
two. I think
He's got
it's
two.
Yeah.
So he's got two, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, that already it's proof. I mean, I would think like if you win a world championship in Formula One, you get a pretty big boost of confidence and validation of
Sure.
yourself as a driver, right?
Mhm.
And that goes throughout, waves of that ripple through the paddock. Everybody knows that too.
Yeah.
But think of like a guy coming up in GP2s, F2, whatever, GP3, where whatever the name is now. I think are they doing away with GP3? They are. It's going to be F3.
They're trying. Yeah, it hasn't been approved yet, I don't think. But that's what FIA is trying to do: is GP3 and F3 just be one formula essentially.
But it's just going to be F3.
It'd just be called F3.
But it is the F3. That's what I'm saying. I think they
yes,
approved
that's
that.
what I'm saying. But I don't think
Yeah.
it's been approved yet.
I thought it
I
did.
thought there's a lot of pushback from the teams.
I'm very confused with all that. I've tried to follow it, and I don't follow it religiously enough. And every time I read something, I'm like, wait, okay. So that's beyond me at this point.
I would say one of the biggest things that, and we talked about this last time we briefly touched on it, is work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And Bottas came out last race and said one of the biggest things that surprised me of Hamilton is his work ethic off
Mm-hmm.
the track. And that's something you don't see behind the scenes. You don't see in the interviews. You don't see in the stories on all the websites, and all the banter. You don't see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very exclusive group of people that are involved in those meetings and involved in what really is going on in preparation,
Yeah.
right? Where the cameras are away, right? There's no paparazzi around. I mean, not that there's a ton of paparazzi around Formula One drivers. There is a little bit, right? But
Around Lewis is
And
going to be the
depending on what
most.
country, but yeah, definitely around Lewis. I
Yeah.
mean, everywhere except the United States, he's dealing with it.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
But that's like the factor I think that people don't see, and it kind of does separate in all sports. It separates the elite guys.
Right,
Everyone always said, like, Jerry Rice is one of the guys. They're like, dude, this guy's ridiculous in how much he prepares.
Yeah.
How much he trains in the off season, all of this stuff. And it doesn't matter what your outside facade or what kind of image you give off. If you're doing the work behind the scenes and you're getting the job done, that's all that matters.
Right.
And I think that is one of the differentiating parts that sets him and a few of the other guys apart, is that work ethic, staying with the team, staying with the engineers a little bit later, getting to the track a little bit earlier, understanding, well, okay, if I do this pace for this long on this tire, who was it that came? Oh, it was McLaren, where they talked about when the temperature was much higher than practice, and they asked about the tire model and, like, do they have the data that they need to know exactly how long they can run on the tires? And he goes, yeah, we got one session in with a temperature similar to this. We feel like our tire model. Well, if the driver doesn't know or doesn't remember exactly what that was in that session,
Yeah.
those tires are so much more sensitive than the tires that are run in most racing series that 90%, 99% of the people are racing at.
Right.
Right? Even like a Pirelli or Continental tire in sports car racing is not what these guys are dealing with, of getting it up to temp and that how narrow that window is.
Yeah.
So if you're not on your absolute A game and have that feel and know, okay, if I go this hard into the brake zone, it's gonna, if I get one lockup, how much it really does affect the balance of the car.
Yeah, the
Right.
whole
Not even
car.
if it gets a big flat spot,
Right.
right? It
Just
could
the balance.
the balance could change just that little bit.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the
And
heat.
you heard Stroll talking about it,
Yeah.
right?
It's delaminated.
And then he delaminated his tire.
Yep.
But that
Yeah.
shows
That
that
was-
an experienced driver, right, would have been like, whoa. Okay, I'm really not gonna focus on locking up. And he didn't. He locked up plenty more times. I understand we've all raced, we've all had flat spots. We know how easy it is when that flat spot gets big enough. You just keep finding it.
Yeah.
But-
nothing you can do.
Right.
He did it enough times where it's like, come on, guy.
Yeah.
At some point, you just got to realize that you just have to manage the car and finish where you're going to finish.
Yeah, and maybe he's
not-
not able to get 1,500 pounds of brake pressure initially. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe he's got to do a little left leg workout.
leg.
thing.
Left
Some
leg
squats.
workout, yeah.
I do want to comment kind of on what you're talking about there. Again, going back or tying into the Lewis Hamilton thing in terms of the work ethic and paying attention to everything off the track and everything like that. I think that is a good point in a contributing factor, key contributing factor to his career. If you look back a few years ago when he opted to leave McLaren for Mercedes, everybody said he was nuts. There's something to that. It's not sheer luck. He looked at the program that Mercedes put forth and said, this is what we're capable of doing. He probably analyzed every bit of that data, looked at where he was coming from with McLaren and said, this seems like a better situation. Yeah. I'm going to do it. Didn't listen to the crowds, didn't listen to his dad, even I think was against that at the time.
Yeah.
And to know that much about every other aspect of what's involved in a team. It is a team sport, regardless of how you want to look at it. Some people see the drivers or riders in motorcycles or whatever the case may be, and they're the stars, but it is absolutely a team effort. I mean, what were they saying? I think Mercedes F1 employs like 1,500 people or something.
That's
I was
crazy.
reading the other day.
Yeah,
it's insane. And so to be able to kind of the same thing I try to do in my career, right? As an actor, like, okay, we're the ones that get seen on TV. We're the ones that deliver the material that the writers have written, that bring to life the vision of the director, et cetera. We get to do all that and a lot of the times get the credit for that. But if we don't pay attention to what the writers are doing, what the producers are doing, what the director wants, what the lighting guy is doing, what the grip is doing, and try to learn as much about all of that as possible, we're not going to reach our full potential. And I think it's the same thing with a driver and with Lewis Hamilton, and he pays attention to all of those things. And that was, in my opinion, a massive part of why he chose to make that jump when he did, and look how it's paid off.
Yeah, I remember thinking about that, like, you know, when he made that move to Mercedes, it was a shocker to everyone.
Yeah.
And nobody thought it was a good move. You know, like, I don't think anyone was like for it except Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I guess, yeah, he looked at the 5-year plan or whatever was coming up in the rules and saw an opportunity right there. Not even the year that was happening.
Right.
Like, it's
a long-term deal.
Yeah. It was like the year after that when the completely significant twin turbo V6s come out. That's when they're going to shine. And, like, he put all of his faith in that. That was insane because you're leaving McLaren,
who you've been with since you were 9.
And was at the top of their game. It
Yeah.
wasn't like it was like
Absolutely.
leaving Ferrari, Alonso leaving Ferrari,
Right.
and being like, well, who knows what's going to happen here? We haven't been good this whole time. I mean,
Right.
we had one season we were decent, but
Yeah, for
what are
like
we going
5
to do?
years.
Right.
Yeah.
And he left and went to McLaren. I mean, you're at top of your game and you make that big of a switch.
Man.
That's some self-confidence.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. So,
And
yeah.
Vettel tried to do a similar move, right? And not the same deal.
Not the same deal, but I don't think it's worked out negatively. Right?
No, and
I think he had to
I think
move.
it's a lateral move. I think it was a lateral move.
And I
Yeah.
think it's lateral. I think it's a bit progressive. I think he's another one that pays attention to things. I don't know that Vettel's an incredible driver and an incredible talent. I don't know that he has those intangibles that Hamilton does.
There's something different.
There's something different there. But I do think that I think Ferrari is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the next few years. They've shown that this year, and I don't think that was completely coincidence either. I think Vettel kind of wanted to make that move. Who wouldn't want to drive for Ferrari? But again, I think he looked at the overall program and was like, okay, I think we can do something with this.
Yeah.
And made that change.
It's not the dominance that it's just not the dominant thing that Lewis, as you know, Vettel would have hoped it to be. You know, I'm sure every time you make a move like that, I think you're hoping for long-term success. Like, this is a better move. This is going to be a step up from where I'm at. But yeah, at this point, it hasn't. Maybe this just is something that's like, okay, this is like a 6-year long-term where like you're really looking down into the future and like, okay, that's where we're good. We're good.
And again, to that part too, I think, and this is again having this argument with like my buddy Kobe, and from an outside perspective, if you're just an occasional F1 watcher or whatever, I can see how it can be a little boring and a little similar race after race. But if you pay attention to the drama, as it were, and everything like that, I think that, part of the reason that Vettel is struggling, quote unquote, with Ferrari, et cetera, is because of how good everybody else is and how good Mercedes is. And to have that level of competition, it's hard to have. You're not going to have, I don't think, you're not going to have the whole Schumacher Ferrari era ever again, where
Right.
one team, one driver are just that much better than everybody else.
I don't think
there's
F1
just
will
too
let
much
it.
talent. Yeah,
F1
the
won't let
rules
it.
have kind of kept that from happening. I
Right.
think. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't think you'll ever see that again. Just because FIA steps in now, and they'll make a subtle change, and I think they try to switch it up so that it can't happen.
Right.
But anyways, let's shift this to
Shifting gears.
We're shifting gears. This is like a third gear.
This is third gear.
This is a third gear.
This is third gear.
We're just coming out of the corner.
Yeah.
Medium speed corner.
Yeah, you getting still a little wheel spin.
Little wheel spin.
Still,
We're a high horsepower car here.
we're in a Formula One car.
Oh, you think?
Wheel spin.
Okay.
There you
Okay.
go. See,
We are that good.
we are
We're
that
that
good.
good.
We're at the pinnacle of our respective games.
Yeah. So
Possibly.
we're sidestepping here.
Okay.
Actually, not even a sidestep. We're doing just a wheel hop, and we're moving on. So car culture.
Car culture.
Car
You're
culture.
big, and so TJ and I talked, and I think it was the last podcast or the first episode.
I think it was the last one.
Both of us are not car guys. We're racing guys, and that's one of the reasons why you're on, because you're a car
All
guy.
of that. Like,
You are all of that and more.
that's always blown me away and I've met a handful. You guys are the only ones. Like, I've met a handful of really talented race car drivers that get in a Jetta and drive home and are completely content with it.
Yeah.
No knock to the Jetta.
That's what I drive.
But, like-
Mazda 3.
It's, to me, I don't know. There's just, it's not that clinical to me. There's something, it's not just like, oh, I'm good at driving cars, so I'm going to go race cars. No, it's passion. And that's what it's always been for me. I've owned 55 cars in my lifetime.
Wow.
I don't still have that many by any means, but I've had a lot of cars.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it came from either, but yeah, when you talk car culture, I can't even say it, but I live it. Car culture and passion, I'd put myself up there. I'm Jay Leno without his money, basically. It's just, it's always been in me. And LA is a good place for car culture.
Yeah. So, but what got you into, and this is kind of interesting. I've always found this interesting because we get asked it a lot as drivers. What got you into racing? But like, what got you into racing in cars?
Geez, I wanted to do it from an early age. Like, I wish I knew where it came from, because neither one of my parents are really into racing. Nobody in my family, except I have an uncle who raced karts and was pretty good at it, but on a lower level because he didn't have the money to go any further or whatever. But it's just, from as far back as I can remember, as cliche as it sounds, like I had a Hot Wheels in my hand as a kid, and then, fell in love with anything and everything. Like, I'm dating myself now, but I grew up in the era of like Knight Rider and, Miami Vice, and even Magnum PI. I was a little young for that, but still the old Ferrari 308 and everything, like anything surrounding, had anything to do with cars, I wanted to be a part of. And then in terms of racing, I fell in love. I think the very first race I ever watched on TV was probably the Indy 500, and I don't remember the exact year. It must have been, it was probably early 80s. I remember, the first one I really remember vividly was the 86 Indy 500, which Bobby Rahal won. And I just remember the Budweiser car and his mustache and like his glasses and all these things still kind of play in my head. And that was probably the first big race that really, like, I said, man, I want to do that. And then Formula One was hard to find in the States back then, but I did whatever research. We didn't have the internet, we didn't have all that other stuff, so I literally had to do my due diligence and figure out where to watch this stuff. And middle of the night, sometimes on some obscure cable channel, you could find an F1 race, and sometimes it wasn't even in English, but I would watch it and watch Senna and Prost and all of these guys race. And for me, there was nothing else I wanted to do. At this point in time, I knew I loved, like, I did theater starting at age 7, I think. And I loved entertaining people as well, but motorsports was always number one. And couldn't get into it because I didn't have the money. My parents thought it was dangerous. And, I get it to a certain point. If your parents don't come from that background and they don't have a lot of money, it's not like a kid who wants to play football, right? The monetary investment for football or soccer or whatever is this big, and if the kid changes their mind a week later, as a lot of kids do, okay, you invested $150 in pads and shoes or whatever it is, and you move on. in motorsports, you got to go out and get a trailer and a pickup and a go-kart. And you're spending, even back then, $150 on tires and whatever the heck it was, fuel and everything just to go racing. And if your kid suddenly decides they don't want to do it, it's a big investment if you don't have deep pockets. And for me, I finally convinced my parents at like age 15 to allow me to do something. It was local SCCA autocross was the very first kind of jump into motorsports that I had. Did that in a Toyota pickup truck because that was the only vehicle I had at the time. Won the Pan Am Region F-Stock class and won Rookie of the Year. I had, out of 11 races, I finished first in 8 of them, second in 2, and missed 1 race in a Toyota pickup truck.
Wow. And
from that point on, my dad was like, well, this is not going away. I still don't have a lot of money, but I'll help you out. And he bought me a 85 Honda CRX that ran like ITA, I think was the class in SCCA road racing. Did that for a while, got into shifter karts. I ran 125cc shifter karts.
So shifter karts from cars to...
Which is usually the other way around. But for me, that was just, again, like the cars that I were racing were really inexpensive, low horsepower cars, relatively speaking. And I wanted to go faster. And I had, at that point, from the knowledge that I had gained, everybody that went into open wheel racing, because that's what I wanted to do, started in karts. Yeah. They started when they were 10 years at that point in time, but that's what I wanted to do. So got into karts, pursued that, pursued that for a while. Moved to Arizona, was an instructor at the Bonnarant School for a few years, and the whole time I'd kind of put, acting on the back burner. I was still doing some theater locally and community stuff or whatever, but it was motorsports. Moved to LA in 2005, I believe, 2004, and for 2 things. One was to start looking into the entertainment world. I had a connection who got me on. I did like 3 episodes of a show called Gilmore Girls back then. Very small role, but did that. And I don't know if you guys know Michael McDowell, but he's in NASCAR now. He used to work at Bonnarant with me. He was at the time racing for Star Cars at Huntington Beach, Pro Mazda team.
Yeah, so that was like the standard Mazda car, right?
Right. Yeah, and he moved on to go run Daytona Prototypes, I think, or something in IMSA or whatever it was at that
Daytona
point in time.
Prototypes,
And so his seat opened up, and there was an opportunity to jump in there.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry, but so he went from a standard Formula Mazda car to a Daytona Prototype?
Pro Mazda to Daytona. They had the standard Formula Mazda, and they had the Pro Mazda, which had... At that, in 05, I think the Pro Mazda was the Renesis. It had the Renesis engine.
Either way, like the first or second year.
Yeah. So he went the Pro Mazda car to Daytona Prototype.
Yeah.
Well, there was, oh God, I wish I remembered this. There was a really, really rich guy, and Michael was one of the guys that was involved in this. It was another guy that came up, and he pretty much brought McDowell and someone else into sports car racing, and was like, it was Grand Am Cup back then. They ran Grand Am Cup and Daytona Prototypes at the same time.
Yep. So just kind of like, have at it, yo.
Oh, dude, it was killing it.
McDowell, and not taking anything away from him. He's a great guy. He's a hell of a driver. But he hit that lottery that we all wanted to hit when we were working at Bondurant. He had the guy come in that he instructed that believed in him and happened to have the deep pockets. And I mean, more power to him. He's he deserved it. He was a great guy. He's a great driver. But everything came together, and that's kind of how he ended up. And he's had a career of it. He's still in NASCAR and Cup, I guess, for probably 5-6 years now, I think.
Wow.
And so backtrack a bit. That was his seat was open. I went to test in that Pro Mazda in hopes of running that the following season. And this is 05, and they wanted $400,000 for an 11 race season back then. And that was the fork in the road. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I can go to my little sponsors at the time that were giving me free tires and motor oil and, no money. It was just product really, and say, hey, I've got an opportunity here. Oh, only 3 of those races are going to be televised. Oh, there's only like 25 people that actually watch it live. Oh, so your return on investment is probably not going to happen at all, but believe in me. Or I could say, screw that. I'm actually making a little money in this entertainment side of things. Let's explore that for a little bit. And it was a hard decision to really kind of shelve the helmet, so to speak, because that's all I ever wanted to do. And then, lo and behold, it was bittersweet, but I fell in love more so with the entertainment industry, the television and film aspect. Because growing up in Texas, it was all theater, which I love, but you're never going to make a living doing that unless you're the exceptional person that lives in New York and, the Lin-Manuel Miranda who can do it all and write and direct and act and everything. And so for me, moving out here, it was television, film. It was alluring. I pursued it. It didn't happen overnight. It was actually a very rough road. The first probably 6-7 years, I didn't make a dime doing it.
Really?
And then I got a break, and I did a show called General Hospital, and that was kind of like my first, launching pad, so to speak. And I did that for a couple of years, and then moved on and did some other episodic television. And I'm a working actor. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not Tom Cruise, but being able to make a living doing that is a win in and of itself. And ironically, my younger self didn't understand the business side of motorsports back then. I was just like, well, shit, I'm fast. Why can't I race this Pro Mazda? Why can't people just give me money to go do that?
You're right.
Didn't understand the marketability, the return on investment, none of that. Now, fast forward to where I'm at now, and yeah, again, I'm not Tom Cruise, but when you're on a TV show, suddenly it's easier to market you to people. So, like I said at the top of the show, I've never been paid to race a car, but I've also at this point in time don't pay to be in a car. I've got enough sponsors that'll step up and cover my seat for a race weekend here and there, and that's how I've been able to do, race in IMSA and race and score and the off-road stuff. And the NASCAR thing was a charity race, like a celebrity charity race, and so that was kind of combining both worlds, which was really cool. So
Wow.
it's been a good ride, man. I mean, like I said, I'll never be an F1. I understand that now, but I can race sports cars and off-road trucks and whatever else I want off and on the rest of my life, and still do what I love in both worlds, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool way to stay in racing.
It is, and you would have never thought. My whole life has been unconventional. Like nothing that I've done has made sense. But
I think if you're in the racing world and entertainment world, I think both kind of work that same way, right? There's such a small percentage of people that actually do make it in both realms, right? I mean, I know that's what we always say, racing. Oh, there's such a. I mean, all sports, it's very few people. It's not like business
it's
where tons of people,
unconventional.
where there's thousands of people that are VPs and top level managers that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Went through business school.
Right. There are very few people in this world that get to play the sport they want or in entertainment and make that much money a year.
And try to find your way through that path. There is no one path.
There's no one path.
There's not.
In both eras or both areas rather of career path per se. You have to be willing to fall and get back up again a million times.
Yeah.
Because all of us, racers, entertainers, etc., musicians, we got some of those guys in the room, all of us have dealt with rejection and continue to do so. Even when you get to a point in, like I am in my career, where at least I make a living as an actor and I work, regularly. It went from having, early on, 150 no's to every yes, and the yes was a small yes, to maybe 35 to 40 no's, and a yes is a little bit bigger yes. But still, the ratio is completely skewed.
Yeah.
Against, you don't face that kind of rejection in any other form of career. Everybody faces rejection. I'm not going to say it's easier to go follow a path, go to school and become this or that or whatever. It's always difficult. But these things that take that, I don't know, just that little intangible or, a little bit of luck or whatever the case it may be, it just, it's something that's hard to explain to people who haven't gone through it.
I think dealing with rejection is such a huge thing in motorsports, entertainment industry, musicians, and because it's an unconventional road, oftentimes like in racing, you're kind of like blasting yourself out there and just hanging it all out there.
Yep.
Right. And it's a weird environment where, you never know if you'll get a yes.
Yeah.
You really think, like, you say no,
Yeah.
you hear no so many times.
It's
you
interesting.
Really don't think.
I was watching a Complex video. It's called Blueprint. They do this series with a bunch of A-list guys in different industries, and they had Scooter Braun on. And do you know who Scooter Braun is?
No, that's great.
manager, widely known for Justin Bieber, finding Justin Bieber. That's kind of like what he's known for, but he's done so many different things in the industry. And
He's developed a lot of artists, yeah.
But one of the things he brought up that I thought was super interesting, and this applies so much to every industry that we've just talked about, is he brought up this analogy of, let's say the Yankee Stadium, they're holding this contest, right? And they invite anyone can show up. It doesn't matter. Anyone can show up, okay? So everyone in the city, some people from out of the city show up. If you can hit a home run off a Cy Young winner, from, of course, they're going to have one at the Yankees, right? You win the grand prize. Right? It doesn't say what the grand prize was, but anyone and everyone can take as many hits as they want, okay? So you can get back in line, take another hit. Back in line, there's no deadline, right? Maybe it's all day, okay? There's going to be people that don't even show up because they're like, there's no chance I'm ever going to be able to get this. I'm never going to hit a home run. There's no point in me even going, okay? That's maybe 200. We'll say 200 people. There's going to be 200 people that show up, take one swing, and go, couldn't do it, and they leave. Then, let's say there's another 400 people that are going to maybe try a few more times, right? Okay. No. There's going to be maybe 150 or 100 people. They're going to do it 10 times, and they're going to get started and booed, and the boos get louder. Give me another shot. Give me another shot. Get off the field. Let someone else go, right? And then they're going to get tired of the boos, get tired of the name calling, and they're going to give up. Then there's going to be that one guy that stays there for 6 hours, finally hits a home run. Well, guess what? Everyone in the crowd, everyone that heard about this competition forgot about what just happened and was like, what? I hit a home run, won the big prize off of a Cy Young winning pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean, and
that's
that's
a good analogy.
That applies. That doesn't matter your road, but that's one of those intangibles we talk about where it's like that never give up attitude.
Yeah.
There's going to be people in racing that tell you, that's you're never going to make it to Formula One. I hear that all the time. Parents say that all the time. Well, I mean, that's a big step, isn't it? Is it though? I mean, you don't know.
Or in both, again, motorsports and entertainment, the other part of it is, you see some success and then you go away for a year because sponsorship commitments pulled out or whatever the case may be, things out of your control. And then people are like, so what are you going to do now? What do you mean? What am I going to do now? This is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, well, it got hard, so I'm going to go do this. No,
Plan
like
B.
People don't understand that, and it goes right along with your analogy there. Like, you have to want it bad enough. You have to be true to yourself too. You have to know at a certain point, because there are people with a ton of drive that lack the talent, and then there are people with a ton of talent that lack the drive.
Yeah.
And so you have to be true to yourself and know, okay, I've worked my ass off. What's wrong here? Is it something that I can control? And if you're true to yourself and there are certain things that you can work on, great. You continue to work on them. You continue to grow. If at a certain point you're just living a pipe dream, you've got to be honest with yourself there too. But on the other side of the spectrum, and this happens more times than not, there are a lot more talented people out there that aren't willing to stand in line over and over again or take the boos, or their ego gets hurt because they struck out 5 times and they don't want people to think that they're not good. You've got to put all of that aside and say, going back to what we talked about earlier, the confidence factor. It's not about being egotistical or overly cocky. It's about knowing that you are good enough, knowing that you are going to put in as much work as you need to continue to keep yourself at the top of your game, and knowing that at some point in time, regardless of what other 1,000 people said, someone's going to notice that. Yeah. And someone's going to say, yeah, great. And then everybody, like the audience, forgets about all that, and you become an overnight success that took 10 years to make.
Yes.
And that's what a lot of people don't, the audience doesn't ever get to see all of that stuff. You know?
Well, there's been a few drivers recently in the sports car world that have done that, where they were kind of on this high, didn't go their way, fell off, didn't give up, kind of disappeared for a year or two. I'm thinking James Davison and Daniel Morad. 2 guys are killing it right now as professional race car drivers, have amazing opportunities and are killing it in those opportunities. But both of them, for a year or two, fell off the face of the earth. Yeah. Right? I mean, Daniel Morad was racing GP3. He had won a race, and it was like looks like he's going to go to GP2. Looks like he's like a Canadian talent that may have a chance at Formula One. Definitely IndyCar. You know, Formula One I think was a bit of a stretch, but the move to IndyCar looked pretty possible.
Yeah.
And then funding went away. Okay, disappears for a year or two, gets his life back in order, finds a partnership to race in Canadian GT3 Cup with, I believe it was PAF, becomes a brand ambassador for him, wins the championship. Okay, gets an opportunity to race Rolex 24, does an amazing job, meets a few more people. Boom, now he's killing it right now.
What's he racing?
He does IMSA once in a while with, I think it's with what's his name? De Casita.
I have no idea.
It's the Gatorade guy. I think that's who it is.
Does he have a team?
No, I don't know why. Michael and something. I'll look it up.
De Casada?
Something like that. Ah, man. And then he
feel like I've
got
heard
a
that.
Sprint X ride with Ryan DL in Pirelli World Challenge in a Mercedes, and has been killing it in that also. And he's getting all this attention, and he could have easily gone, you know what, game over.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I might find something, but no, he regrouped. James Davison did the exact same thing, got IndyCar tests, and it was like, wait a minute, you were just not in a seat for like 2 years, and all of a sudden you're in an IndyCar? Killed it, did a great job. Other opportunities, found his home in sports car racing. Probably going to do the Indy 500 again sometime.
Yeah,
you know?
did it this past year.
So it's like, you know, there's going to be more opportunities for him to do that. So it's interesting, and I think more drivers need to do that. Someone that we talked about yesterday that's in a similar situation, and I think he's going to come through. I'm not sure it's going to be an IndyCar, but Connor Daly,
yeah.
you know, is amazing talent. He had a rough year this year after a great debut in the series, and lost his ride. I'm not sure he's going to find an IndyCar ride this year, but he's that guy that I know how passionate he is. He's a good friend of mine, so I know away from the scenes how passionate and how hard he works, and he's going to find a home. And I think he will be back in IndyCar. I don't think he'll be next year, but I think he will be back in IndyCar. I think the name being in the sport is important.
Yeah.
But two, he has the talent to be there. He has proven it. I think whatever happened with him and the team and just some of the bad luck he had, I think he will come through and prove that he belongs in the series, because he does. You know, I look at it as Joseph Newgarden won the championship this year, and some would argue earlier in their careers Connor was the better driver, and they went head to head a lot.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would argue that Connor was better, but he went a different route. And then, you know, when he did come back to IndyCar, it was kind of like, oh, I'm moving into IndyCar from this European thing, where Joseph just made this slow, steady climb. And I think some of those opportunities that came were because of that slow, steady climb into IndyCar.
And the networking that he put
Plus-
in within this country in this sport instead of going to Europe or
And
whatever.
I think Connor performed better in GP3 too. He had
podiums,
Marshall
wins.
Pruitt just wrote a good article comparing the two of them for, I think, Racer.com literally last week. And it's a great article just talking about how their careers kind of, you know, mirrored each other early on, and they were super competitive in karts and everything like that, and then kind of went different directions and came back. And it's very easy to write somebody off after they've had a rough season. And not all of that was Connor's fault necessarily. It's, you know, it's just a combination of things. And it's similar to, you know, my situation too. Like, and this is where you've got to become creative in the way that you create your opportunities instead of waiting for opportunities. Like, you know, I've had a great run for the past 5-6 years. This year we focused on some other things. And so when you're going for bigger, you know, now instead of going for this gig or that gig or whatever, now it's really trying to make career moves. So you're going for bigger fish, and your hit ratio is going to be a little off, and that's fine. But in the meantime, instead of just waiting for that, you've got to figure out, you know, I've started getting into producing and kind of creating different shows. I'm working with some of my own ideas, and then I've got writer friends of mine that we're developing stuff. I've got other producer friends, I've got other actor friends, and we're constantly collaborating and trying to figure out. My deal is, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I feel like in this era that we're at, everybody can stick a phone in their face, create content, and put it out there. An audience may respond to it, they may not, but I'd rather create the kind of content that I really want. And so for me, it takes a little bit longer to get that out there, but it goes hand in hand with the driver side of things too. Like, you look at people, I think maybe a good, maybe not, but an example of things out of your control that, that nobody was doing anything wrong. Look at Billy Johnson. Like, he was effectively too good to race in a series the way the whole driver ratings came down and everything, right? So the guy, I don't know what he did this year actually because of that. He's a platinum driver. There's not as many opportunities in certain areas. Did
he do a few long races in the 4GT?
Yes, he
I think
did.
He did a few of the endurance races
in
the 4GT.
WEC maybe.
Yeah,
but he doesn't have a full-time ride right now because of that. So that's one of those tricky situations, again, similar to Hollywood, where you can be doing everything right, but for whatever reason something changes and you're not in the right place at the right time, or you're not this enough, you're not that enough, you're too good at this, you're too good at that, blah blah blah. And that's where you really have to kind of regroup, and those are the harder things to get up from, because if somebody tells you, you know what, this is terrible, you need to go work on that. If you put your ego aside, you can go work on that, you can get better at it. But when you're doing everything right for the most part and you're hitting these walls, those are the rejection moments and the speed bumps, so to speak, that really try you as a human being, and is how much do you really want this. And so reinventing yourself, getting creative with creating your own opportunities and stuff, I think go hand in hand. There's a lot of similarities in both these worlds that I didn't even realize early on.
I'll have to read that Marshall Pruitt article. I didn't even see it come online.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like thinking back on those years leading up, and it was like, wait a minute, that's right. Like, Connor beat him in Skip Barber. Yep. When he won that scholarship money and took it I forgot that next step, but he took that scholarship money, instead of using it for a full season, he went to Europe.
Yeah.
But they agreed to let him use the money to race part-time. I think it may have been Indy Lights or whatever. But he used that money and was beating him almost every single time he went to the track. He was outpacing and beating Newgarden, and probably would have won the championship if he would have run the whole season. Then probably would have had an IndyCar ride earlier on. Could have parlayed that like Newgarden did. It's one of those things where but like you said, Eric, I mean, he's at a point now where he may have to reinvent himself a little bit.
At Long Beach, though, he because I think he did like the first 2 races.
Yeah.
He like honestly was like fighting. He was legitimately like a 4th place guy.
Yeah.
But then 2 guys fell out, and then somebody like at the end of the race fell way off pace, and he won the race. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, kind of.
You're playing that game right now?
I'm playing that game.
Oh, wow.
Because it goes on the cards. Like, yeah, he won the race, but like it was like, yeah, he was playing. He was like not.
Didn't we have a earlier podcast before Cafe Machina where the title was like winning? It's like, dude, I mean, if he wins, he wins. I don't care how it happens.
Oh, winning is everything.
Winning is everything.
Yeah, but for longevity's sake, I'll play devil's advocate here. For longevity's sake, the powers that be, the team owners, the engineers, etc., are paying attention to that type of stuff.
Right.
And so they're looking at overall performance and factors, and not just an overall, punch card at the end of the year that says you won X number of races, podiumed X number of times. It's
true.
Performance.
Good point.
What I was going to say, though.
I digress.
But he did. I mean, the thing is, he came up from Mazda and just went into lights. And I think because he was going to go with GP3.
Yeah, he won the Mazda championship. I'm sorry.
I didn't even hear what you said. But
yeah,
I totally skipped Mazda, but he won it with Yunko. So I remember that.
And then moved up. And I don't know. He must have been testing for GP3. And then,
I thought he raced in GP3. He was testing for like Sahara Force India.
He had a Force India deal that he was their reserve driver and did a bunch of testing for him.
That was from the GP3 stuff.
But but he knew he wanted to go the Formula One route. When he won the Star Mazda championship, he deliberately was like, I'm going that way. I know I have this money, but I want to go that way.
Yeah.
And the big discrepancy was, will they let him use the money if he doesn't run the full season?
Definitely not.
Well, I think they did. They worked a deal out where they allowed him
the season.
No, but he knew. I remember this conversation. Because I had the conversation with them about it. And they worked out a deal to make it work. But yeah, I mean,
because I think even now, and maybe he was the one that set the bar for like how Mazda decides on this.
Well, I think it is because I've talked to Askew, and I was like, why don't you just go straight to Indy Lights?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of running Star Mazda? Like, just go use the money. I'm sure you can find the extra money. I'm sure the teams
Oh yeah,
aren't.
easily.
It's easy.
Easily, right? You
It's
get
easy.
Go ask
350.
for
He's
it.
a rising
It's
star
literally
guy.
$1 million
Dude,
from the
he's-
money that he won.
I heard.
to get
I heard
into-
Rising Star is just like handing out money
raking
left
in.
and.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Take it. Take it.
I'm just
take it for
kidding.
you. Take it for you.
But I asked him. I was just like, "Hey, why don't you go straight to Indy Lights?" Like, I think the move from F2000 to Star Mazda, personally,
Oh yeah.
this is just old school me thinking.
Yeah.
We had less jumps then,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You made bigger jumps back in the day, right? No one. There was F2000, and then there was Atlantic. There
Yeah.
was no in between, and now
Yeah.
we have an in
Yeah.
between.
I mean, my coach went from a standard Mazda car to an Indy Lights.
Right, that's my
and
point.
Then sidestepped to Atlantic. It's like,
So-
what?
I asked him, and he's like, "Nah, can't. They won't let me even use the money to put towards it. I
Right.
have it. It's only for Star Mazda. I
Right.
can't take that money and use it in Atlantic." And I get it politically, right? Then you have two people with the same scholarship, different amounts of money going in there, and that kind of ruins the ladder that they've tried to build,
Right.
And build
That's
pretty
what
successfully.
Nico was trying to do too.
Yeah,
Nico, I mean, when he won USF, he wanted to go Indy Lights.
and they're like, "No,
Yeah, and especially looking at the dominance of Pelfrey and that he's with Capes and stuff, and it was like, I don't know about that. I think I want to go Indy Lights. That makes more sense, and can't do that. But
No,
what
no,
I
no.
what I was gonna say earlier on our talk was comfort zones. I think comfort zones. That's what racing teaches, is how to deal with comfort zones, because it pushes you out of your comfort zones all of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's true.
generally, people that are just in the world, their business, VP, whatever, you can fall into these comfort zones pretty easily, and it's very easy to just stay in that little direction. You make a good living, but you're not going to own a business. You're not going to be crazy with it. And I think racing really requires you to always be stepping out of your comfort zones.
Absolutely. It's a good point.
And it'll force you there too. You
Yeah.
find these guys where they're really good. They're able to step out of their comfort zones, and then they fall out of a ride for next year. Now they're really in a place they don't want to be. But you have to make a move. You literally can't stand still. Or if you do, then you'll find your way to the door, and
Yeah.
you're out. So
I mean, it goes all the way back to actually being in the seat in the car
Yes.
and being in a comfort. You can find your rhythm. Rhythm is key, but you can never be in a comfort zone because you've got how many different variables? You've got 20 other guys around you. You've got tires. You've got all sorts of stuff that can blow or break or whatever at any given time. You've got your traditional, lines and breaking points and apexes and all this other stuff. But at any given time, if you get too comfortable with just running your routes, so to speak, all hell breaks loose.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's a good point. It teaches you everything. I know we got to wrap things up.
where
we
are
do.
on this?
Yeah. Yeah, we're way over.
Are we
I
over?
talk a lot.
we're not way over, but yeah, we're getting there."
I do want to send one shout out. I don't even know if he's listening, but talking about championships and all this other stuff. A buddy of mine, Pietro Fittipaldi, is racing in Bahrain this weekend, and he is poised to win the championship in Formula 3.5 V8. So, good
Shout
luck to
out.
you, buddy.
I'm sure he's watching.
Yeah,
I'm sure Pietro's watching.
he's watching.
I'm sure of it.
He'll
No,
make
he
sure
is.
he'll
Watch.
watch
He's
it.
gonna
I'll-
DM me on
I'll
Instagram or
message him. I know
WhatsApp
him.
me.
I know him. I race against him in Bark in Formula 1 UK.
Really?
Yeah, we raced against each other for a year.
That's
He was,
awesome.
I mean, it was the year he killed it.
Yeah.
Won like almost every race.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a talent, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what
Yeah.
that kid can do. So
Well, we veered off a little bit. We never really talked about car culture.
Oh my God.
yeah, there was a little bit of call.
Yeah.
What do we have? Okay, very succinct. Let's summarize car culture of
Guys that are into cars that aren't really into racing,
Yeah.
but are deeply into cars, right? Old cars, new cars, what's the newest thing? But like, I meet tons of people all the time. I'll speak about racing and they're, what? Yeah, I don't really watch much race. I catch a
Yeah.
race here and there.
Yeah.
But they know they love every new car that's coming out, or they love a certain brand and they're so in depth. We know this about Porsche, some of the Porsche people. I've had people are so in love with Porsche stuff
yeah.
and still aren't even up to like, oh, Jude, this with the WEC or this with IMSA. No, I don't really watch that. But I know all these old old races that, and this car did this at this track and, won Le Mans in 1979 or whenever,
And the
right?
thing is, they can literally tell you the part that was changed on the car from the first year of development to the second year and what changed.
And what's next for let's say the 911 GT 3.2
But
or the GT2. What's
they
new about it? I have
wouldn't
no clue.
know the difference in driving between like a 2 and a 4-wheel drive car.
Right.
It's insane. Like because it's knowing. It's like being able to know it, but you don't know it.
You know what?
You know what I mean?
This is very interesting, actually, because right now racing as a whole is just hemorrhaging viewership. I don't quite understand it. It's sad to guys like you and I, but there is a disconnect there. Somewhere, somehow, maybe technology got too, over your head or whatever the case may be, or
that's true.
Or drivers became too, too untouchable, like
that's what I was
just
thinking.
whatever it is. There's that disconnect because I hadn't really even thought of that, but it's a good point. Like your car culture guys, you guys go to Bob's Big Boy here locally, every Friday night, or Supercar Sunday, or Cars and Coffee, or
The
whatever
stuff they do at Fontana and some of the other tracks, or Irwindale.
track days and stuff like that.
These people, like, they watch racing occasionally, but they are not into racing, right? It's more of like, because I'm into cars, I know
should
racing
know
and I
about-
watch a little bit, but they're not into racing. Where we're a bit the different, where not that we watch a lot of racing, but we can talk about any form of racing, go pretty in depth with it.
Yeah.
I can't go in depth with car culture.
It is interesting because
No
you look
way.
at, guys that play pickup basketball on the weekends. If LeBron James walks down the street, every single one of
Yes.
those guys is
Yeah.
going to know who he is.
Good point.
But as a car guy, if Lewis Hamilton walks down the road, 30% of people in the United States are going to know who he is. In the rest of the world, it'll probably be closer to like 70 or 80, but it's never going to be 100%. This country in general has just got this weird disconnect from car people and racers and racing, and I don't quite understand it.
I think part of it comes from the traditions of, you go back to European racing and how passionate the Italians are about Ferrari.
Yeah.
Think about who's super uber passionate about Chevy.
Guys in their 60s. And
But
even
how
then, they
passionate
don't
are
know
they?
anything about the racing.
Do they have
if
a
it is-
flag?
and if they are, it's normally the truck,
Yes.
right?
They're not racing that.
But they're still probably not paying attention
I
to
think-
Baja and others.
Would they paint
Right.
the Chevy logo on their face? That's the real question.
How passionate
Do you
are
ever see that?
That's a good point.
I've seen guys with Chevy tattoos on their arms and
I have
legs.
seen some interesting tattoos in NASCAR
That's
races.
true.
I will
There
say
is-
that.
There are those.
There is that.
We also
I'll give
don't
you
talk
that.
much about NASCAR.
We don't.
That's
but we
exactly
could.
right.
You know
could.
what? We will
could, we
dedicate.
should.
No, we will dedicate an episode when the championship's done with this stupid playoff system that they have right now. That's lame as can be.
Well, let's bring Casey Kane on the show.
Oh, you gotta connect.
No, I have no connection, but I'm sure one of those viewers out there has a connection. They know
Casey Kane is probably watching.
Actually, I think Casey. Yeah, he texted me. He is.
Oh, cool. But I thought you said you didn't have a connection.
No, I can't text him back.
You don't have that kind
I
of
gotta,
relationship.
I gotta save hand in the relationship.
Oh, okay. Cool. But yeah, I think we should dedicate an episode to NASCAR and the championship once this playoff deal, whatever the heck it is. I know there's 4 drivers. I know it's Kyle Busch, Truex, Keselowski, and Harvick.
Dude, I think it's
Harvick.
true. I think Truex is just gonna win it.
Dude, he's
Yeah, I know.
I haven't watched a single NASCAR race, but I see the headlines, I see the
It's
highlights.
always him.
He is always
It's
guy
like,
is
what
up
is he
front.
doing?
He is one more when they started doing this. What do they even call the segments where like you've got
The heat.
the segments. No, there's segments.
segments? Yeah.
That sucks.
Truex has won more
Segment.
segments than I think anybody else this year.
ridiculous.
Like he's
he's
won some
killing.
races, but he finishes first in like more segments than anybody else. He's
And the
kinda-
main, and then he'll always win the main. Like he'll always win
Yeah.
the big one at the end, like the very end one. He'll win it.
Dominant.
Like, oh, he won
He's
that.
dominating.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
He's hooked up.
He's
He's
hooked
doing
up.
something right.
yeah.
All right.
Drink that water.
We'll dedicate an episode to that.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch some highlights from whole season so I can actually talk on,
Yeah,
speak on it.
same here.
But we will.
He's got an all black car. That's what I know. Yeah. It says like
Furniture
Denver
Row.
mattress.
Furniture
Yeah,
Row.
Furniture Row Racing. Huh. There you go. Cool.
Wow.
I have a connection there.
To Furniture Row
furniture?
Racing?
Yeah.
Are we going NASCAR racing?
No, but I have a connection. Like I have a really good friend that is
Sells mattresses.
is related to the crew chief, and I've had dinner with the crew chief a few times. So
This is
if
like
we
some,
get-
some
I'm just-
Kevin Bacon
no,
stuff.
I'm just
like,
saying if we get big
6
enough,
degrees.
if we get big enough, we might, and like proper show, right?
Yeah, right.
We might be able to get some of these This guy's like, okay,
So you're saying like Truex on here? You're saying Truex?
possibly.
I mean, guys, if y'all want some connections, I got a few
I
of
know.
those. So
I know you do.
you know,
we
you
keep
just
it
have to
those-
invite me on the show.
We're keeping
more
those in the
Right.
back pocket. So, guys, thanks again for watching
that
episode
it?
3.
We wrapping this
Yeah,
thing up?
I'm wrapping it up.
We're getting out. We're getting
Out of here. I got to go to
Vegas.
Vegas tomorrow. Super Nats. We talked about that last episode. I got packing to do.
Right.
Got to get home to the wife.
You're gonna race home. Got to race
We
home.
got to race home
the
in LA
Jetta.
traffic. No,
No.
No.
Mazda.
3.
All right.
Rode with him this time. So, thanks again for watching.
By the way, a little plug. We have a huge fan base on Cafe Machina, and so I wanted to let you guys know dates coming up. 25 hours of Thunder Hill.
Are you running? Are you racing?
I'm racing it this year.
Do you need another?
We
I was supposed to race that last year and it didn't happen. I'm not gonna say why.
Experience.
or
You know what?
who.
You know what actually happened? I was looking through my emails to find my NASA member. This is just a quick little thing, and I was like looking through the email because like I couldn't find it. I was back in like 2014 in my emails.
Okay.
I don't delete anything, and so
Me neither.
I saw an email from someone that was clearly confirming me to be in the car for the 25, and I guess I just never read it, and I forgot,
Wow. Good job.
and so I didn't run the 25. So
First time.
James Vance,
Your first
I'm sorry
endurance.
about that.
This is your first endurance race.
Yeah, that would have been.
No, this is.
No, it's my second.
No, this is your first endurance race.
So my first race was in Mexico.
Doesn't count. There will
Which
be
one?
a video coming out soon.
I raced in Mexico. It was Ensenada Grand Prix. So the
Ensenada has a
streets of
Grand Prix?
Yes, they have a
Kidding?
Grand
And what
Prix.
kind of cars?
We raced in the Miata.
Through Ensenada. That's amazing.
Dude, it was crazy.
I've been. What's the fan base? Because I mean, Baja starts in Ensenada. I started and
Massive.
drove through the town, and like there's hundreds of thousands of people for that, and it's crazy.
Dude.
I can't imagine running through the actual streets because we literally go left, we're down through the wash, and then go out to the
It's
desert.
not much different than that.
TJ had to make a last minute pit stop for fuel in an actual gas station.
Yeah,
At a Pemex, bro.
Yeah, dude. Like in the actual gas station.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like a legit gas
Attendant?
a gas attendant.
Delivery guy.
They had
Came
to
out
open
of
the
that
thing,
Amazon.
and then like they paid him, and like he had to like, no, you can't. No,
No, don't pay
gracias,
me.
no
Go.
gracias. And he
Continue.
put the fuel thing in, and like then they like start it up, and like it was like a quick shimmy go,
How come I've never heard of this race,
dude, because it's not that popular.
We're having Team
But we
Cafe
actually
Machina
need
next
to
year.
do this.
Oh, we're
Dude.
doing Team Cafe Machina
Dude, it
next
was
year.
insane. I'm telling you, like seriously, I was
Yeah.
going around one of their sweepers one time, and there's a crosswalk going across it. There was legit a lady with her groceries walking across the crosswalk. I had to drive way off the line to
Yeah.
not hit her.
You should do Baja one year. They do these things where they literally have a name for them. They're called suicide selfies. And we'll be coming down through the wash, and there's literally hundreds of thousands of people lining this wash leading out to the desert. And these dudes will jump out in the middle of the road like this to get a picture of them and your truck hauling ass at them, and then jump out of the way at the very last minute. It's insane. And you're like, do I live?
gotta be
do
willing
I,
to hit someone.
Like, you almost do. That's a whole nother episode, and I could talk a lot about
I know.
that.
I wanted
Baja's
to.
insane,
I wanted to
so-
ask about Baja, but
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to save that for another episode.
We'll
Yeah,
have you
it's
back
badass.
on.
All right. Yeah, I
worry
get to
about
come
it.
back.
Yeah.
Unless the feedback you get from the viewers like that dude does not shut up.
But I knew that coming in, so we're good.
Yo, December 3rd though. I think that's the day of the race. I'll double check, but December 3rd.
Yeah,
Mark down.
you'll take over our Facebook, do some Facebook. I mean, our Instagram, do some Instagram live.
Yeah.
From the race, some Instagram stories.
I'll bring my phone with me in the car.
While in
And
the
I'll
middle
just-
of the race.
You should.
Yeah, and I'll just start.
No, let's do it.
taping it.
Why not?
Yeah,
It's
new
legal.
hands-free one. You can do the
Yeah.
hands-free recording,
Yeah, exactly.
right? They have
Yeah.
that new feature,
They have the hands free.
Oh yeah.
Good.
so it's hands-free.
So, guys, episode 4 next week on Monday. Most likely, we will not do a live episode. It's Thanksgiving week.
Thanksgivings.
I go to Atlanta. I'll be straight back from Vegas that morning. I'll probably be hungover.
Yep.
Because we go to the club every Sunday.
So we'll do a live show that
Woo,
morning.
woo, woo.
Atlanta.
So yeah, I'm probably gonna be hungover. We'll not want to be doing a show.
We will.
But we're trying to record a specific karting episode while I'm in Vegas that will upload on Monday on our YouTube and Facebook.
Are you
But it just
building
won't be
hype
live.
about something right here, Mr. Chris Wehrheim?
No, actually, we're not going into that because I don't think it's gonna happen. We talked about it, so
So it's gonna be even more hypier.
I don't even know what's going on anymore.
We talked about something, maybe having an A-list guest on the show. And
So we're looking at a D-lister.
So
now.
I was your backup plan.
No, for the karting show next week in Vegas. But I don't think that it's gonna be hard for it to happen. I just don't want to.
Just let it be a surprise. Don't hype
Exactly.
Is it a
anything
no? Are you at a no right now?
It's not a no. It's just not a yes.
It's like a cafe machina.
You guys got like. No, I'm just kidding. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.
See ya. Where the car sound.